podcast you're about to listen to is from a book series on post-qualitative, new materialist and critical post-humanist research. I'm Karen Murris and chief editor of this new Routledge series. You can find it on the following website, www.postqualitativeresearch.com.
This podcast draws on my book Place-Space Methodologies. I have followed my desire to create a concept that allows me to theorise and understand relationships in and through human, non-human and multi-species kin assemblages. Taking the time to read and think, and the productive relationships with Carol Taylor, Mirka Coro, Angelo Bonozzo and others has given me the confidence to develop my own theories, concepts and neologisms around matter, place, space, bodies and time. The stories I develop are about making possible worlds and of making worlds possible. I do this by opening up new thinking about the relationality of place and space, and have developed the concept of place-space to attend to the ways place and space are experienced materially, physically, socially and relationally. I argue place-space is both methodological and a methodology. Place-space is fluid, immanent, partial and situated. Methodologically, this offers the potential to consider the impacts of discourse, history and materiality on bodies. As a methodology, I've developed an immanent theory praxis that includes undisciplined research, research creation, and walking with to articulate place spaces. The concept of place spaces is not time limited. There are other ways to open up new and situated multiverse possibilities for knowledge production that are not necessarily fixed or rooted to a particular moment in time or history. I have also connected with other relational ontologies and cosmologies, and for me this is really important as I have made a conscious decision to foreground Black and Indigenous scholarship as a way to move beyond the dominance of the white episteme of philosophy, theory and practice. I've started to call the theory I've been thinking and working with since 2013 post-philosophy and post-theory. My choice to do this was not to signify a rejection of theory, but to acknowledge the breadth of theoretical orientations that build on post-structuralism and postmodernism, including agential realism, post-humanism, new materialism and feminist new materialism. I wanted also to acknowledge the way theory has been conceptualised, for example, plugging in or putting to work. Although these terms have moved debates forward and have been important for scholars and researchers, I want to make another theoretical move which takes these metaphors in a different direction. For me, thinking about theory and methodology as living and lively has been really productive. And I've developed my own living theory by reading deeply and tracing the elements I want to use in my research. The first elements of my living theory are Donna Haraway's Situated Knowledges and Adrian Rich's Politics of Location. Situated knowledges are a way to problematise and challenge standardised notions of objectivity and the God trick, which become a performative and normative all-seeing eye that renders other positions, theory and philosophy as invalid. The politics of location highlights the multiple and intersectional discourses, politics and identities that constitute a body. Both situated knowledges and the politics of location allow for a critique of the structural and intersectional inequalities around gender hegemony. They're an integral part of my development of place spaces, as it becomes a powerful reminder of our obligations to address racism and intersectional hegemony. Next, I think with relationality and a commitment to understanding the intersectional nature of the cosmos. My aim to engage responsibly and ethically with Black and Indigenous theory and scholarship is to help me move beyond some of the cycles of extractive colonial logics. I realise this needs a constant reminder and questioning of my own whiteness and positionality, and that the work is hard, as Eurocentric perspectives are an intrinsic part of my lived experience. I see relationality as an expansive concept that acknowledges the interconnectedness of human, non-human and multi-species kin bodies. This does not necessarily mean a harmonious connection. Relationality can equally reinforce marginalisation and produce negative consequences for bodies. However, living respectfully with Black and Indigenous theories and critiques of relationality provided me with ways to explore how human, non-human and multi-species kin are connected in place spaces, and how these connections are productive and reveal how life unfolds moment to moment. In tracing my own living theory, I align my research and scholarship with imminent, ineffable processes that open up new conditions of possibility for living otherwise. Space and place are terms in everyday usage. They are things and concepts we come into contact with all the time. We live in space. We own space. We don't have enough space. We have too much space. That's my place. I know my place. My place is your place. It's placed over there. Space is complex to define and has been theorised in multiple ways. It is more than a container or landscape on which things happen. Space can be immanent, relational, colonial, material, human, non-human, multi-species, and can enable or constrain bodies in many different ways. Yi-Fu Tuan noted, space is a common symbol of freedom in the Western world. Space lies open, it suggests the future and invites action. He also said, space is an abstract term for a complex set of ideas. People of different cultures differ in how they divide up their world, assign value to its parts and measure them. When I started planning the book, I didn't realise the complexity of the term space and the ways it was used in multi and transdisciplinary concepts. I drew on Henri Lefebvre, Yi-Fu Tuan, Doreen Massey, Milton Santos and Catherine McKittrick to help me consider different perspectives of space. Place is where life is experienced. It is political and contains histories and legacies that maintain hierarchies and produce oppressions. Place can be effective and dynamic, a site for entangled relations, a place for activism and pedagogical in nature. Place is related to space, where things that are located in space but act in place. And the legacies of those who live, act and experience places are inscribed by discursive and material forces that shape responses to place. The development of my concept, place-space, is an acknowledgement that place, space and time are interrelated, and that there are synergies behind how space is framed and experienced as place and in relations with time. I have used the hyphen between place and space as an opportunity for exploring, and I quote Manning, interstitial modes of existence. I argue place-spaces attune to the liminality and inseparability between place and space. The hyphen becomes a nexus point for thinking about the affective, temporal and relational dimensions of place spaces, which are immanent, fluid, partial and a mode of situated knowledge-making practices. I propose place spaces are always under construction and are a product of a multiplicity of connections. Place spaces affect encounters in time and encounters shape place spaces in time. Place space as a concept is not tethered to a particular discipline. It could be used in both inter- and transdisciplinary ways as an ethical response to find ways to understand the multiplicity of experiences. Place spaces are in constant motion and experimentation, and they become what Taylor et al. Note, and I quote, choreographies that put affects, bodies and materialities into co-motional relations. As I've mentioned before, Place-Space can be used as a methodology, as a way to develop and engage with particular modes of research practices. It can also be used methodologically as a concept to understand the ways bodies materialise and are in entangled relations. Place spaces can offer forms of resistance to business as usual ways of living, as the concept considers how bodies are impacted by wider systems of power that cut through experiences and are sites where discourse, history and materiality mark and score bodies. To summarise the key elements of my development of place-space methodologies. In my work, theory is not an add-on or put to work, but relational and living. It requires deep thinking and reading across a breadth of transdisciplinary scholarship. As researchers, we need to ensure we read widely and deeply and take time to develop our thinking. This ensures we think more deeply about the concepts that resonate with us and the ways we might engage in concept creation. Part of my ethical orientation aligns with tracing the lineages of your own living theory and living methodologies. This allows for a critical engagement with a breadth of scholarship, and we have a duty to work beyond the white episteme of knowledge production and think with and use respectfully Indigenous and global majority theory without misappropriating it. I developed place spaces to provide a concept for doing this kind of critical thinking, and in my opinion, we as academics and educators must think critically to counter the multiple natures of oppression and marginalisation. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. If you would like to know more about this chapter, please visit the website www.postqualitativeresearch.com, and please stay tuned for future podcasts.